Teddy Covers, representing Las Vegas, Nevada, here every morning show on Betting with the Bag. Please welcome to the show, Teddy Covers. Teddy, how you doing this Thursday morning?
I'm doing great, man. That Tuesday and Wednesday in September where there's no football, you're just kind of jonesing a little bit. You're like, all right, let's get to Thursday. Let's get to Thursday. We're at Thursday. We got football tonight. We got football tomorrow. We got football Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So nothing but smiles here in Vegas for me. What about you, Jimmy? You seem like you were energized today for a change.
Well, I did have a rough night, and having the Jays, my team, put up 6 runs, so I don't hit that Orioles -1. I had Orioles plus 176 on the reverse run line. Really hurt last night, so I'm just starting to get over it now and feeling excited about tonight's action. So let's start with NFL quickly and then focus on NCAA football. Have you decided to make a move on this game? Because, man, the Jacksonville Jaguars supporters are heavy and present in the chat. It's all Jacksonville except guys like Big Ragu on the Titans. And I want to back the Titans. We just had Babano saying that he wouldn't back Jacksonville, that it would be a Titans look for him if he was going to make a move on the side. We have Jacksonville backers all over our chat right now. Are you making a move on tonight's NFL game?
Oh, yeah, I'm locked and loaded. I got Tennessee. I played them on the money line at -125. The Titans against Jacksonville. And there's a couple of thought processes here. First and foremost, Tennessee's better than Jacksonville. I don't care how you want to slice it. You break these two teams down, you watch what they've done the first 2 weeks. You look at preseason expectations, you look at last year, you look at what we expect from this year. Tennessee's the better of these two teams, and I don't know what they're seeing in the forums that's making them think otherwise. Both sides of the football, Tennessee's the better of these two teams. Then we talk about the nuance for this particular matchup, all right? Rookie quarterbacks look good for a couple of weeks. Well, I don't know if he looked good. Well, he looked okay. And he's getting a ton of credit. Gardner Minshew, mustache, Minshew, when he came off the bench in week 1, came in against a Chiefs team that was playing prevent defense, and he picked up some decent stats. They were never competitive to win the game. And, at the end of the game, look, Minshew had decent numbers. Okay, he was playing against a defense that was playing soft coverage. Last week, they had 6 points with, 5 minutes left in that game, 6 minutes left in that game. It's not like the offense is moving up and down the field with Gardner Minshew. It's not going to. It's all dink and dunk. But the key issue when you talk about a rookie quarterback getting ready off a start on Sunday for a Thursday game, to me, that's where the nuance is here. I do not want a rookie QB on a short turnaround situation. I don't think Gardner Minshew will be ready tonight. And throw in the fact that the Titans are coming off a loss in a game. They were every bit as good, if not better, than Indy on Sunday. They didn't make plays down the stretch. They didn't convert on third downs, et cetera, et cetera. I like Tennessee coming off a loss. I want them hungry off a loss. So, yeah, I think the Titans are relatively cheap. I have them in my pocket. I invite my clients to bet Tennessee. And to me, this wasn't one where I'm like debating and, no. Tennessee's better than Jacksonville, period. And I expect it to show on the field tonight.
So do I. And I just, I guess I'm hesitant. I'm on the Jaguars team total under 19.5. I love that look. But I'm certainly thinking about jumping with you and Ragu on the Titans money line here, and I may make that move. Okay, let's get into college football. This is a fun part. I love these Thursday shows. So what I did last Thursday, and I'd like to do again this Thursday, is I'd like to go over Big Ragu's spots that he likes. I'd like to go over Big Boss's spots that he likes, and I'd like to go over Babano's spots that he likes. I think that's really enjoyable way of handling this. And we just had Babano on the show, so why don't we start with Babano? I'm going to go over his spots, and we'll do a quick take on what you think of him. First, he's going back to the well. It was his 2-unit play in the Pick Six $50,000 contest last week. He's going right back to the well. I don't know if it's his 2-unit play in the contest, but back to the well with Air Force on Friday. Air Force, Boise State. He's taking Air Force to cover. What do you think of his first spot on his card?
So I'm not going to talk him out of it. Certainly all the sharp money has come on Air Force this week, just like all the sharp money came on Air Force last week, and it was right wire to wire. And the final score, the fact that game went into overtime / was very tight, was misleading. Air Force was by far the better team on the field, by far. And the fact they shot themselves in the foot a handful of times They had some real miscues in that ball game that allowed the game to go into overtime in a game that they dominated. Boise's been a terrible home favorite, and I mean terrible. As I talked earlier in the week, how the Broncos at one point had my single strongest home field in all of college football. That was, a decade and a half ago. And since that time, Boise's home field's been on a steady downward climb. Look at them over the last 3 years. Look at them in the Harsin era. They 33% ATS is home chalk. I don't even think they're that high. They're consistent losing. Of course, they lost to Marshall ATS in week 2 of the season. So I'm not excited about laying with Boise. And I know that, when you see this much wise guy support on Air Force and the fact that they won by more than the final score would indicate last week, you make a strong case for Air Force here. All that being said, there's one matchup that really concerns me, and it's been a problem for Air Force in every recent meeting against Boise, and that's the Air Force secondary against the Boise passing game. And Boise's been able to throw the football around with success against Air Force every recent meeting. I'm not convinced that changes tonight. So, that's Friday night. I'm sorry. On Friday night. So it's a game where I've talked about a lot this week, but I'm not close to getting the betting window. I've heard strong cases for both sides in this contest. For me, it's going to be a pass.
It's a pass from Teddy. And AntFam says, Teddy, please be with me on Michigan. You know that he is 100% backing Michigan. It was one of his first looks. Al Mack also moving to CFL quickly, he was saying last night on the show, if the Argos get to +7, fire. +7 at -115, +7 juiced, fire. And he's firing on the Argos at +7. Okay, so, and feel free to bring in your questions. Bring in all your questions. I'm copying and pasting them, but we're going to keep going over, as I said, we're going to go over Babano's, Ragu's, Big Bosses, and then to the questions. Let's go on to Babano's next look. And this one, I've heard a ton of back and forth, and that's this Northwestern spot, getting 10 points. He's backing Northwestern, Teddy. What do you think?
Is that line back up to 10 this morning? It was sneaking down last night.
Oh, I was just going off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in front of me.
Yeah. We're looking at 9s, 9.5s right now. The 10s are gone.
Okay.
But let me say this, all right? Point spreads are set based on power rating A versus power rating B. Throw in a home field advantage, adjust a little bit for circumstance, injury / situation, and voila, you've got a point spread. The point spreads pay absolutely no attention to the trends. None whatsoever. It's power rating versus power rating. It's team A versus team B. And what team A has done in these spots and team B has done in these spots in the past is not even considered when it comes to setting the point spread. That's something we talk about, trying to beat the point spread, but the spread itself is set pure math. Team A, Team B, the difference, the home field, whatever little edges, whatever little adjustments you make, and bang, there it is. So what's happened in this Northwestern Michigan State game that opened 6.5, 7, and that got bet up to 10, is that the wise guys said, yeah, these trends favor Northwestern. Yeah, they've been good dogs under Pat Fitzgerald. Yeah, Sparty's been terrible chalk. Oh, look what happened to Sparty last week. They couldn't move the football. And you know what the wise guys have said? We don't care about any of that crap. Michigan State's good. Northwestern isn't. That's why the money's come on Michigan State. Now, later in the week, we're seeing, look at the trends. Look at the angles. Look at Northwestern. I've heard 500 people talk to me this week. Look, but Pat Fitzgerald's an underdog. That's not what the spread's based on. I think Sparty's a lot better than Northwestern, all right? I don't think they played a good offensive game last week. I'm not rushing the window, laying more than a touchdown with Michigan State given the trends, but I know this. I don't want Northwestern this week. The popular underdogs tend to get buried, and that's one that's a very popular underdog.
Very, very interesting breakdown, man. That's I find that just so. And I got to stop saying interesting so much when I break things down with you. Okay, let's move on. Quickly, just very quickly. I meant to ask you this, but we moved on. A lot of talk on this total in the Air Force Boise game. A lot of talk about maybe backing the over from last night, and we'll get into that spot when we talk about Ragu. But what do you think about this Air Force total?
So again, it's a very difficult. It's almost like the Auburn A&M handicap, where the pace is going to be there, but you don't trust either teams to score. In this, to score touchdowns. Where I'm like, I would love the over. Oops, no, I don't love the over. I love the under. Oops, I can't bet either one. This is kind of like that. because Air Force is not going to push pace against Boise, and Boise is not going to push pace against Air Force. This game is not going to be a game with 160 offensive plays, So there are going to be fewer possessions in this contest. Air Force wants long, slow drives, keeping the Boise offense off the field. Air Force does have some correlation with under in this ballgame because Air Force is not going to trade touchdowns with Boise all night. And if Boise gets to 35 or 40, Air Force is going to have a hard time covering the number. So there's some correlation there. But I think that Air Force is going to have some success moving the ball. And I think Boise is going to have some success moving the ball. And I don't know, but the pace isn't there for me to bet the over. So it's one of those conundrum games where you have pace that doesn't match the weaknesses defensively of these two squads, and that means that I'm not going to play the total.
Staying off of the total, we're going to go from one total to another total. This is a Babano total, 2 o'clock our time here, San Jose, Costa Rica, 4 p.m. Eastern, South Carolina, Missouri. He likes this total to go over, but this total opened up at 64 and is being bet down to 61. South Carolina, Missouri. Do you like Babano's look on the over?
It sure makes a lot of sense to me. I'll tell you that. I don't know that I'm going to get to the betting window with it because, Helinski, the Frosh QB for South Carolina, okay, do it on the road now. You know what I mean? I want to. You oftentimes see the young QB come in. There's no film on him. He's going to have a good day. And then next week he's on the road against somebody real. Again, not that Alabama's not real, but Missouri's got a solid defense. They're not awful on the defensive side of the football. And now he's going on the road and doing it. And I do worry about that. The markets are clearly worried about that. All that being said, if I had to play the game, I would play the over. We know what kind of pace Missouri wants to play out here. They want to get to 50.
They do. I like that look. Let's move on to another spot he likes, and that is Louisville. We've talked a lot about this game. Florida State opening up at 8.5, now at 6.5. This total open at 60, now at 61 or 61.5 at Bookmaker and Heritage. He likes Louisville plus the points here. Do you agree?
Don't know where I could bet it. Again, we talk about why this line is where it is. Florida State was power rated here coming into the season, really high, and they've been notching down. Louisville was power rated really low, and Babano made an excellent point when we talk about how Louisville quit on their coach in their season last year and came into the season with a power rating that was ridiculously low compared to the talent level on hand. But now what we've seen is Louisville's power rating going up and Florida State's power rating going down, and we're getting a relatively short number here. So I could only take Louisville. I'm not laying with Florida State, but I'd like a couple extra points if I was going to get to the window. I had them on my short list, and I pretty well, I leaned Louisville, but I pretty well decided not to pull the trigger on that game. I'm going to give it one more look in the next 24 hours, see if I find something. But it feels like the kind of game that the Seminoles are going to win by a touchdown.
Tight line. Would have preferred it at the 8. Babano jumped in at the 7. Now you'd have to take it at 6.5. Let's move on to a game a lot of people want to talk about. One of them, our guy, Jerry Beatty. And he says, please ask about the Washington Huskies game. Is there value on the Huskies as long as it's under 7? And this is a spot we already heard Babano on. Washington Huskies at BYU. 6.5's on the board right now. This total open at 49 now at 52.5. Do you back these Huskies?
So, the answer is yes. Washington is a clear choice in this game. 6.5 is cheap. It was 35-7 last year. The Cougs didn't get 200 yards in that game. I don't see any scenario in which BYU's offense is going to be able to move the ball up and down the field here against Washington's D. So it's how much can Washington score against BYU's D? And I'm shocked at this total move. I really thought, hey man, this total, I thought it was high at the open. And the money's still going on the over. I don't know how BYU scores. Again, they had under 200 yards and 7 points in this matchup last year. And the BYU offense this year is not a whole lot better than it was a year ago. Maybe that they faced so many, they had step up games. And, they've moved the ball against some pretty good defenses in recent weeks a little bit. But I definitely lean under. I definitely lean Washington in that one. And I'm actually debating which of the two is the better play. That being said, if you like the Huskies, and I've already bet Washington. I haven't bet the under because the total is going the other way. But I would get the Washington 6.5 now. And underwise, again, it says as long as it keeps going up, I'm not going to bet it. But I can't figure out why they're betting the over in this ballgame. And that, there has been a legitimate and significant move to the over. And that's something I want to investigate today and see if I can find out what it is they're betting. Because I haven't seen it at first look.
I like that breakdown. Let's move on to Babano's last spot on this card. It's Kentucky on the road and Mississippi State. Mississippi State opening up at 7.5 point favorites. They're down now to 6-point favorites. This total stuck at 48.5 all week. Teddy covers. Do you agree with Babano's look with Kentucky and the points?
If you want a Kentucky, you better have a 7 in your pocket already. I don't want Kentucky at less than 7 in this game. I worry about Sawyer Smith. And I worry about the mentality of that team. Remember, they had Florida beat last week. All they got to do is kick a field goal. Oops. And then an oops on the other end if you had +8 with Kentucky. It was a demoralizing loss. And now they're going on the road for the first time this year. They're going on the road with a quarterback who had made Sawyer Smith made some throws last week. He also made some mistakes, some significant mistakes. That worries me. This line surprised me. It did feel too high at the opener. 7.5 the opener was like, you're like, what? Well, they've gotten the Kentucky money they were looking for. I don't want the Wildcats at less than 7. And again, this is another one of the, like Northwestern, this is another one of those popular underdogs, and I'm very concerned about those type of bets. That's the only thing I care about consensus in college football. It really is. When you find the underdogs that are very popular, that's enough to get me off a game. A favorite at 80% I don't care. They know that everyone's going to bet Alabama. No one's going to bet Southern Miss. That's just the way college football is. But the popular dogs that are getting 60, 70% consensus numbers, those over the long term have been negative expectation wagers. And that's the one element of public support that I will allow to talk me off a college football side. If everyone likes the dog, I don't like that dog. And this is the dog that everybody likes.
Wow, God, I love these angles. Okay, we're moving on to DJ Big Boss's looks from last night's live Pick 6 show. Let's start off with his first look, Texas at -5. We've talked and debated this game all week. What do you think of Big Boss's first look, Texas -5?
I would only play the Longhorns in that ball game. I think that they are better than Oklahoma State. I think that Okie State's going to have a hard time stopping Texas at all. In this contest. So it's simply a matter of, can the Longhorns get a handful of stops? I think they can. Agree with the take. Texas or pass.
Texas or pass, says Teddy. Let's move into this next spot, and I can't wait to talk about it. Let me make sure that there may have been some movement on the total, and let me grab it right now. Okay, here we go. So his next look has gone slightly down from the opening. It's a total. It opened at 66.5. It's now 65.5. Actually, it's 66, 65.5 for 65. It's the over in Western Michigan, Syracuse. The over at Western Michigan, Syracuse. What do you think of Big Boss's second look?
So they played opening day last year, and it was about a big play on the over. And it was I think it was 55-42 or something. It was a real shootout. Syracuse did whatever they wanted offensively, and Western Michigan, once they fell behind early, they moved the football well. Syracuse didn't play a whole lot of D in that contest. So from a theoretical perspective, we've seen these two teams play a shootout. We know how fast Syracuse wants to play. We know that Western Michigan's defense is going to likely have a hard time stopping them. We know that Western Michigan can put up points. It certainly makes a ton of sense. I didn't pull the trigger on it because I don't trust Tommy DeVito. I really don't. I've seen enough of him now that this is not a quarterback I want to be betting overs with. And the drop-off from Dungy to DeVito is real. I've been steadily downgrading Syracuse in my power ratings from opening day. I cashed ticket with them on opening day at Liberty. And they didn't look impressive there on offense. And they haven't looked impressive on offense since. So I like the lean, but I personally have not pulled the trigger, and I won't because I haven't seen Syracuse do anything on offense yet this year.
Okay, interesting breakdown. Wow, okay. Western Michigan, Syracuse over. I can't wait to talk about this look of Big Boss's on his next look. This is a total that was moving in the so he's going against the market, and Boss is never scared to do that when he feels like he's got the right angle. This is funny because it's the LSU Vanderbilt total. We've talked about Vanderbilt's pass defense being terrible, as LSU being firing on all cylinders right now, possibly the best team right now in college football with a passing attack that can take advantage of Vanderbilt's weaknesses. Big Boss likes the LSU Vandy under at 62, likes the under at 62. And after Big Boss gave this play, Big Ragu was talking about being interested in Vandy at plus 24 or plus 24.5 or 23.5, depending on where you shop. So I'd like to touch on both of those looks. Even though Ragu did not make this an official play, he said that he's got a lot of interest here. So Big Boss is under in LSU Vandy, that's open at 58, now at 62, and possibly backing Vandy at home plus 24.
I'm not going to give a strong take on either one because I don't have a strong take on either one. It's not a game that I like at all. I know this. I don't want Vandy. Vandy's garbage. And if LSU comes to play, it's one of those games where if you have the dog, the whole game, you're like, oh, please don't break one. Oh, please don't break one, because the game's going to break wide open at some point. And then you're like, all right, can we get through the back door? You know, the bigger dogs in college football, there's two that I'm interested in this week. Old Dominion and Notre Dame. And I haven't pulled the trigger on either one yet. And I missed the best of the number with Old Dominion. I don't even know that I will pull the trigger in that ball game. But in general, the bigger dogs, they can be problematic in matchups like this one. And LSU's got nothing to look forward to. They have Utah State on deck. Total wise, my concern and the under, I wouldn't talk you out of an underplay because I don't think Vandy's going to get a whole lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if LSU blows them out in the first half and the second half just grinds clock. That wouldn't shock me at all. That to me seems like a reasonable scenario to expect in a ball game like this one. So I certainly wouldn't talk you out of the under in this one. And sidewise again, I mean, you could take Vandy. There's value with Vandy, but value is not the only piece of the equation. I really worry about the matchups for the Commodores. They can't guard LSU's receivers, and if LSU's throwing the football all game, Vandy's just going to get blown out.
The look I found so exciting just because it's going against the market. Matt Randall agreeing with it. Big Ragu, part of it was the 12 noon early start. That was part of it. It said the RPO will start slow. Sleepy game, you'll see. What do you think about that idea, 12 noon early start, sleepy game?
I've seen no evidence or sample size that shows that early start games at the noon Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific times are lower scoring. When you have a West Coast team traveling east, especially in college football for an early start game, that's something to consider. Cal Ole Miss is one that stands out in that regard, but not with two teams that are already on East Coast time. I don't think it matters one iota.
Okay, let's keep rolling. The final spot on Big Boss's card. Arkansas minus 21 to smash San Jose State. Arkansas at home minus 21 hasn't moved. This total's gone from 57.5 all the way up to 61.5 in some books. But he likes Arkansas to smash San Jose State in the mouth. What do you think of Arkansas State 21? What do you think about Arkansas as 21-point favorites?
I don't like them. Arkansas is not a team I want to lay 21 points with. They're not. And let's not forget, before Colin Hill gets hurt last week, it's 35-35 at home in a revenge spot against Colorado State. You know what I mean? And they close out with 3 touchdowns to win and cover. And one of the touchdowns, the guy broke 18 tackles to get to the end zone. It wasn't bad defense necessarily. Up next for Arkansas, they go to A&M. Maybe this is a team they can beat. So they're like, okay, let's pound them. San Jose's got a quarterback. San Jose's, they're not good. Arkansas has an enormous edge. Maybe Arkansas is a good bet. San Jose's not going to be able to compete in the trenches. They got a decent quarterback in Love who's, but he's not anyone who's going to be moving the football up and down the field against an SEC defense. Sometimes I like spots like this with teams like Arkansas, where they find a weak foe and they just at home and they just pound them. But I worry about the Razorbacks staying focused for 4 quarters, knowing what's on deck for them. And San Jose does have a decent quarterback who, in theory, can get through the back door here. So I guess it's a long pass for me. I'm not going to get involved.
Dav Fenn said San Jose State does not suck. Not that friggin' bad, he says. They hang within the number. But Brian Beasley says San Jose State is a community college. Ragu says these home-and-home matchups are golden to cap for revenge factors. Okay, so Arkansas not getting vouched for. So let's move on to our big Ragu. We got the sauce from the boss and the sauce. He likes the Boise Air Force over 55. We already talked about that. He also likes the Utah against USC, likes Utah against USC in this matchup. We've gone back and forth on it. Ragu likes Utah to smash USC in the mouth. What do you think about Utah here?
I would only take the Utah Utes. In fact, I have some Utah in my pocket. And it's a matchup, again, let me see what the number is now. Is it still 3.5? Yeah, there's still 3.5s out there. You can get 3.5. And it's the kind of game I was hoping I would get a 3, but even at 3.5, when I saw it starting to tick up, I'm like, let me lock in here now. So last year, USC gets off to a 14-0 lead at Utah. And then you blink, and then it's 34-14, 34 unanswered for the Utes. They have that potential. Utah will run the football in this game. They will throw the football in this game. I do not see the Trojans' defense stopping them. Now, Utah's not explosive, but they're grindy. They grind out the first downs. That's what they do. USC's offense is not going to be on the field. I know that Slovis last week, he threw 3 picks. This is a good defense he's up against. This is a playmaking defense he's up against. By far the best defense he's seen so far. I expect there to be trouble. USC, for me, in this matchup. I'm sorry, Utah for me. Against USC in this matchup.
Backing the Utes here, backing Ragu's look. Then we have Ragu on Wisconsin. We know you're on the other side of Michigan. We've talked a lot about that game. Then finally, Ragu is on a look that is backed by an alumni of the opposing team, that being Drew Martin. Ragu is liking A&M, Texas A&M here in this game against Auburn, which is it's been not really heavily debated because we have not seen very many people backing Auburn, and we had Drew Martin, an Auburn alumni, saying take Texas A&M. This line opened -4 for A&M. It's now -3.5. Do you agree with this look of Ragu's on Texas A&M?
So I've been debating back and forth on this game all week, and I'll say this: I haven't played. I haven't made a bet on it. So anything I'm talking about is just blah 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 blah. It's not getting to the window with. There's certainly an A&M case, and you look at an under-the-radar point spread success team. Look at the Aggies under Jimbo Fisher. Consistent money winners in every role, and home chalk is one of the good ones for the Aggies over the last year and a half. And you talk about a Frosh QB making a tough against a good start in a hostile environment against a good defense, and that's what we're talking about with Bo Nix in this ball game. But we watched Kellen Mond against a good defense already, against Clemson's defense, and that offense didn't work, flat out. Auburn's defense is Clemson caliber. It is, all right? You can say what you want about their offense. Their defense is loaded. And when I see a quarterback that can't move the football against a good defense, you're like, okay, well, this time he's at home. Yeah, he is. And he's already seen one before. Yeah, he has. I do not trust Kellen Mond to lay points with him against this defense. For me, it's Auburn or pass. So I'm against Drew Martin on this one, I guess. Not the first time. It won't be the last.
And Matt Randall says Auburn with the points or no play for me. So interesting. Okay, that puts a question mark beside A&M. Ragu also interested in this Texas A&M under. It opened at 49. It's now at 48 or 47.5. What do you think Auburn, Texas A&M under?
So this is what I was talking about was an impossible total because the pace in this game is going to be frenetic. Both teams are going to run no huddle. Both teams are going to look to snap the ball with 20 seconds, 25 seconds on the play clock. There's going to be a lot of plays in this game. There could be, how many drives? 15 drives for each team in this contest? It wouldn't shock me at all. So the pace is going to be fast. I don't trust either offense to move the football against either defense. And when it comes to red zone execution, I don't trust either team to put the ball in the end zone. I expect field goals more than touchdowns. So you have super fast pace. And and also the other issue was that these are teams that can score on offense, they can score on defense, they can score on special teams. The chances are much higher of a non-offensive touchdown being scored in this game than in, Kent versus Bowling Green or something like that, where you don't have playmakers on special teams and on defense that can bring the ball to the house. So in a game where there's a much higher than average probability of a non-offensive score, you hate playing unders in those games, and this is one of them. But I don't trust either team to put the ball in the end zone. Hard total, really is. Good luck whichever way you bet it. I will be sitting that total on the sidelines.
Wow. A lot of back and forth now. A lot of people coming out and backing Auburn. Very, very, very exciting game coming up. Okay, we have some questions coming in here. Let's go with Chris Sanitate. This is what he wants to know about. He's got Utah, LSU, and Washington State. But he wants to know, which of those 3 spots are you most confident in?
Utah.
Utah is the answer, Chris Sanitate. There you go. Rob Stevenson says, please ask Teddy about the Ohio State game. Ohio State going up against Miami of Ohio. This total opened up at 60.5. It's now 56.5. Ohio State opened as 38-point favorites. They're now 39 or 39-point favorites, basically, across the board. What do you think, Miami, Ohio State?
I do not have a strong opinion on this game at all. I'm not convinced the Buckeyes will be fully focused on the task at hand this week. I'm not convinced that Miami O can hang, even if Ohio State isn't fully focused on the task at hand. If I had to make a bet on the game, I would probably look under. I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State gets out to a lead and then sits on the ball thereafter. And I don't trust the Red Hawks to score. So lean under, but not anything I'm actually betting.
And at this point, now that it's at 50, it's 4-point move at Pinnacle, the time to take the under would have been while it was at 60, or do you still think there's value at this number?
Look, the market's already moved. And if you're getting 4, and with totals, I don't freak out. Let me look at what the broader market did on that game real quick. Yeah, it's been, I'm seeing 56.5, 57. Opened the broader, it was 60, and then it got bet down right off the bat to 58. So you're not getting way the worst. I don't expect anyone to get the opening number, okay? Unless you're sitting at your screen all day, unless you do this professionally, you're not getting the opening number if it moves off the opener. It's just how it is. So you say kind of get close. And when it's 58 at the at a broader open, and you can get a 57 now, I'm going to say it's not a great bet. This isn't a back the dump truck up to the window with all your money in it. But I'm not going to say you can't bet it. There's no possible way because the total moved down a point. Yeah, you've missed the best of it. And that means you adjust your wager size accordingly. But I still do lean under in this one.
All right, we're going to ask 2 more games, 2 more spots. We have PD Pick saying, ask Teddy about UCF Pitt. CT Bays saying, I love Pitt at plus 11.5. UCF opened as 10-point favorites, now 11.5-point favorites. Its total opened at 58. It's now at 61 or 61.5, but Pinnacle's still hanging the 60. UCF Pitt, Teddy.
It's an impossible game for me. I can only take UCF, and the price is not right to take UCF. Again, I've got UCF power rated high, and I'm not loaded up on Pitt. And my number on this game came out like it was like a 7.5 or something. It came out way short. I'm just looking for it real quick. And of course, now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it. Yeah, my number came out 7.5 on this game. And I've got UCF here and Pitt here. It's not like I'm way off. And the markets are saying, yeah. They opened 10.5, and it's nothing but UCF money. I understand the concept. UCF's good. They're coming to play. They've been, we talk about A&M being sneaky good, under the radar money makers. UCF's been, they haven't been under the radar. They've been a great money maker. And they don't like to play it. But I'm not laying doubles on the road with this team against an ACC foe that's going to slow the game down. Pitt's not going to push pace here. And we saw some legit vulnerability in that UCF defense last week, and that was a huge win for them last week. And now they're laying doubles on the road. It's just the price isn't right. It's a pass.
And then we're going to close the show up with our very own Russell Gordy. He wants to know about this Cal Ole Miss spot. Cal opens up at Pinnacle as a favorite, 1.5-point favorites now. Ole Miss, 2.5-point favorites. This total is low. People think it can still get under it. It opened at 44, now 41.5 or 41 at 5 times. Teddy covers last game for today, Cal Ole Miss.
Hard game. And again, I totally agree with the move to the under, but when you're starting talking about, okay, now it's a 2.5-point move, and this was 44 across the board, and now it's a big move to the under, and it's a low total to begin with, and one cheap score will kill you. But Cal, all they do is play 12 to 10 games, 14 to 13. Their offense is really bad. It's not getting better. They have no playmakers at receiver. Quarterback can scramble, Gabers can scramble a little bit, but the running game isn't there. Cal works hard for all the points they get, and their defense is elite, absolutely elite. Ole Miss, that defense has impressed me. It's been a much better defense than I thought they were going to be coming into the season. That's one thing that stood out. It stood out in the opener against Memphis, stood out in the game against Arkansas. They got some people that, for an Ole Miss team that's not been good defensively lately, they've been very good in that regard. And they've shown some signs. Good, fascinating game. It's a pick 'em type game at +3. I'm interested in either side. I do lean under, but again, at 41.5, it's only a lean in that total range.
Great stuff, Teddy. If you guys want to know Teddy's favorite looks on the card. You must join us tomorrow. That's sort of what we lead up to. Now, the looks will be different. Teddy jumps in early to try and beat market prices, so his favorite looks on Monday, Tuesday may not be his favorite looks on Friday at that price point. You'll have to join us tomorrow morning for Betting with the Bag to hear that. Teddy Covers, what a treat it is to roll with you. Please hit us with your Twitter handle, and low baggers everywhere, follow Teddy. He's very active on Twitter. What's that Twitter handle?
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback from viewers of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you. At Teddy_covers on Twitter. I can't guarantee I'll respond to everything, but I look at everything, and even when I suck, I look at everything. So I appreciate all your comments. I appreciate all your follows, guys. I appreciate you. You're beautiful. Don't ever change. Thanks, Jimmy.
There he is.